This is number 21. If any of you didn't know, this is the 21st podcast for Street Scene Power Hour, and I'm welcomed to have Rick Guerrera, my co-host, my other co-host, Larry Ward. And, you know, we are honored to have to your, right, is Diz Dean. He is Diz Dean.
Who let him on here?
I know.
How do you get on here?
And also we have Thom Duma also with us welcome to Diz and Thom. We're happy to have you here. And
welcome, Thom.
Just want to, there's a lot of things you don't know about people. And you know that, Diz has been in the, car world. He's done a lot of car shows, done the Thunder in the Park. And there's also something you don't know about him, that he does model cars. And Thom Duma, you know that name very well in the community for Thom Duma Fine Jewelry, correct? There's also something you don't know about Thom. And Larry, I want you to let the audience know what that is.
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome Thom Duma to the Armstrong Street Scene Power Hour. And Thom, you're one of the legendary, iconic figures in the Mahoning and Trumbull Valley. Maybe many people in motorcycling certainly know that you were an up-and-coming, high-end, flat-track motorcyclist. And certainly we want to welcome you to the show, Thom.
Well, thank you, Larry. It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think we're
an honor to be here with Rick and I, right?
Oh, that's right.
Larry.
I'll tell you what.
That's Corey's dad.
Get into the motorcycle circles, you kind of find out who's who and who's not and who's doing what and who isn't doing anything but says they are. And I got to tell you, I am so excited to have Thom Duma on the show. My experience with Thom, as we mentioned before the show, goes way back many years ago when I was down in Daytona watching the flat track races, covering it for the Two Wheel Power Hour, my motorcycle show at that time. And I saw Thom, and I think he had his sons in the infield, and I was talking with them then. And it kind of, didn't forget. And I tell you what, the neat thing about Thom is that he walks the walk and talks the talk. It was just a scant maybe 2 years ago, I was sitting at Western Reserve Motorcycle Club up in the thing, and lo and behold, who's sitting on the starting line? Thom Duma. I'll tell you what, you were whooping up on those young kids, Thom.
I did. I won that night for the 50-plus class. It was the Tom Morgan benefit, and Tom Morgan was a expert racer back in the day with all of us. And Tom, unfortunately, several years ago, passed away, and so that was the first Tom Moog Memorial race. And so I had to win one for Tommy. So that was a good night. And then I ended up riding the pro class that night to see if I can hang with the young guys. And I pulled the whole shot. And then shortly there, I was second. Shortly thereafter, third for about, it was a 15-lap race. And that was after the 50-plus class. I was dying out there. And I'm thinking, my God, when's the white flag coming? And on the last lap, I got passed by another young buck and got fourth that night. But I was pleased with being able to run with the young guns there for a while.
Well, it brought a smile to my face. I mean, you're definitely one of the guys that has put motorcycling on the map in this valley. But let's go back to a younger Thom Duma. Let's tell our listeners and our viewers how you got going in the sport of motorcycling.
Well, back in early 70s, I was born in 1960. My mom had Helen's Bridal and my dad had Cliven's Jewelry. So both parents were entrepreneurs, business people, and they were both in their 40s when I came along. It was like, whoops. So it took a couple of years for my mom to sell her business. And of course, my dad stayed in the jewelry business. And so as growing up on the east side of Warren, there was a gang of guys and everybody had mini bikes. So I started out with the first, just a Briggs and Stratton pull start. And then we went to a Honda 50 and then up to SL 70s. And one day in the newspaper, there was an article for a TT race in Orwell, Ohio. And so we caught that ad and begged my mom to take us guys to the racetrack. And lo and behold, she did. We all piled in her car and went up there. And boy, the whole gang just loved the aspect of racing our mini bikes. And so we all went back to our prospective parents, begged them, and was able to get them to agree to let us race. And so our first race was, I taped a white number plate to in front of my headlight on the SL70 and used the number 77 was my first number because it was easy to make with the electrical tape. And, and we went out there and had a ball, and that was really the start. That was probably 1967. I was probably 7 years old,
Jeez.
8 years old in that place. And then, so we were racing in Orwell all the time, whatever their schedule was. And then we found and discovered Deerfield Speedway and Western Reserve Motorcycle Club and this thing called Flat Track. And so then the whole gang made the move to Flat Track. And boy, it just was something that it just came natural to me. And I had a lot of success as an amateur.
Well, we've got another guy, Jimmy Akazelli, who I do a lot of business with, and just a good guy. And Jimmy used to race, and some of his leathers are up at the Packard Museum. And I know you guys used to get out and duke it out at places like Trumbull County Fairgrounds, stuff like that. But, if you were to look back on, there's two careers. Most guys that race, I'm beginning to realize they don't do a lot of street riding. They race. And I wondered if that's like that with you, if you took a perchance to just, hey, I'm just going to flat track race and I'm going to try and be good at it. And I'm going to put my effort into it and not have, fool around on the street and stuff.
Well, of course, back in my amateur career, you couldn't get your license until you were 16. That was either professional racing or to ride on the street. So there was never, an opportunity for me to ride on the street. And we just focused on just flat track racing during my amateur career. And then when the opportunity to turn pro, I couldn't wait to do that. So riding on the road was the farthest from my mind. However, when I in my 40s, mid 40s, midlife crisis, that was the only thing that I didn't do was road racing. So I went out and bought me a Ducati 996 and started road racing at the age of 47. But I never rode on the street.
Well, hey, Rick, did you ever get out of that midlife crisis yet?
Not yet. No.
Okay. Just wondering.
I'm still 30. I'm still 37 up here. So.
There are two things that are very similar to dirt, flat track, and road racing is that when you twist that wrist, it's going to explode and go. And where you point it is where it goes. And, it's kind of interesting. I sent Greg a picture because I want our listeners to know how well you're thought of in the motorcycling community. Last month, the American Motorcyclist Association did a feature on amateurs and professional, young or older, and ones in the past. And the picture you're seeing right now is Parker and Duma hanging it out, battling, going through the curve. And I'll tell you what a great picture. I saw that and it just brought the biggest smile to my face. And then it says, Parker went on to become one of the most celebrated, and Thom Duma retired a little early, become a high-end, very successful jeweler. But I saw that picture and I thought the article was good. And I wanted you to share some thoughts. Most people don't have a clue what it's like to be behind the bars going down a mile track with only a rear brake. And you'll notice there's no front brakes on these bikes. So you're only going to do so much stopping without locking up. And mostly it's sideways. So can you give us a feel what it's like, Tom, to get behind that thing, rev the motor, let go of that clutch and just explode out of the hole? Well,
there's nothing like the adrenaline rush that you get when you're sitting on the starting line with 12 other racers with a 750cc Harley Davidson twin motor underneath you, and the bike itself is weighing 300 pounds, most of that motor weight, and it's just has just gobs of torque. And so when you twist the throttle, the suspension compresses on the back end, the front end gets light, and it just takes off off the starting line. And obviously you want to be the first one to get out of the hole, to get away from the rest of the 11 guys. And going into one on the first out of the whole shot, you just there's absolutely no brakes at that particular point. You're just at that point going through the gears and getting it to be wide open. On the XR, there was a 4-speed gearbox. We put it up in the 4th gear by the time we hit the first turn. And from that point on, depending on the type of racetrack, if that picture that you seen with Parker, that was at Troy, Ohio, and that was Ohio. Most of the county fairgrounds in Ohio are pea gravel. And so, at that point, you can just back it in, as we would say. So basically turn the front wheel the opposite way of which way you're going. The back end drifts around. And because of the dirt being so loose, it just holds you right in there. And you can just, at about the apex of the corner, you can pick up your feet and just drive out of the corner and head down the back straightaway. The first time you're going to use your brakes, depending on the type, again, the dirt, whether you would use your brakes or whether you would just use the throttle control, roll off the throttle, and then again, pitch it, what we would say pitch it sideways, using your body and your weight to just flick it sideways, to use the motorcycle to scrub the speed versus using brakes. Really, the only type of track that we were heavy on brakes was what we would call a groove track. And that's a clay track, hard packed, and especially on a mile. So on a mile, we'd get going about 120 to 130 down the straightaway. And then we had to hit sometimes like at Sacramento, California, was a big paperclip. And you probably had no more than a 6-foot wide groove that you had to stick at 120 mile an hour going into the corner. Because if you blew that groove, then it was just like being on ice. And at that speed, you'd go right into the wall.
So 120 miles an hour.
That's it, huh?
Yeah. So brakes were more important on certain types of dirt surfaces than others. Right. But yeah, as far as what it felt like, it's undescribable. And that's I think anybody that is an adrenaline junkie would love it.
I had a great opportunity to speak with many of the guys, Geo Roeder, Jay Springsteen, yourself, and you all got a same characteristic. There's a cool and calmness, but I have to tell you, I don't know how you guys do it. I stood in the infield at the Indy Mile when the MotoGP was in town and watched them going down that straightaway at well over 100 miles an hour, and the hair in the back of my neck was standing up. I'm like, oh, yeah. I don't know. Oh, they made it. Oh, good. But
hair on
when
the back
you
of
look
my
at your
neck,
racing career, you've raced against some of the top flight, absolute best legends in the business. Anybody stand out that you liked or didn't like racing against?
For me, it was Scotty Parker was my biggest challenge. In when I was a novice, I was #1 in Ohio. When I became a junior with first year on XR 750s, I was #1 in Ohio, top 4 in the United States, top 2 in my region. So I had a great novice and junior year. So going into my expert year is when I ran into Scotty Parker and Wayne Rainey and Ronnie Jones and all these others that were really outside of Ohio. And I would have to say that Scotty Parker was my biggest rival, especially as we were juniors. We just we went back and forth, and it was either him or me that won at that particular race. And iron sharpens iron. And there's a Cycle News article way back when they interviewed Scotty, and he made mention when they asked him, who's your biggest competition? And he cited that I was. And so it would be the same for me that Scotty was. And when we became rookie experts in '79, Scotty went on to win the DuQuoin National, which he was the youngest pro racer to win that same race. I pulled the whole shot and led the first lap, and then worked my way back to 9th, finished 9th. So that was my first national. So we both had somewhat of he was rookie of the year that year, and I was third in points. And so he had a better finish than I did that year. But yet we continued to, be together and challenge each other. And so I would have to say Scotty, but everybody at that level, Larry, is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
They're all fast.
Absolutely. Now, when we come, as we're getting to the end here, it says that you retired early. What was the impetus? What was the cause that had you decide to say, hey, I think now's the time to get out?
Well, what you were saying about how the hair on the back of your neck stood up at Indy, everything in my body stood up at Indy. So it was in 1981, and we were at the Indy Mile, and we were in a race, our semi, and Chuck Springsteen, Jay Springsteen's younger brother, was in first. Ronnie Jones from Oklahoma City was in second, and I was in third. We were coming out of 4, and Chucky went all the way up and hit the wall coming out of 4, and it got him into a tank slapper, and it pitched him off. Ronnie was able to break the draft, and when he broke the draft of Chucky, it sucked because I was right on Ronnie's back wheel to be able to do a draft pass on the straightaway, and it just sucked me even faster into Chuck Springsteen, which was laying on the racetrack right in front of me, and I ran him over, and it just flipped me up in the air, and I continued to tumble all the way down, and just broke my hip and broke my pelvis, re-injured an ACL that was torn before, and so it was just one of those things that Chucky and I both went to the hospital. Chucky ended up having internal injuries. He lost his spleen.
Oh my God.
But we both recovered, and it was I think a little pressure from my then fiance and her family and my dad, and then it almost was like Scotty was doing so good, as this was our third year, and after my first year, my second year I struggled, my third year I was struggling, and I was used to winning, and felt like I was a little impatient as I look back on it now, and I kind of I was done. It just kind of broke my spirit, and I said, you know what, that's it. And at the time after I quit, we had the Yamaha shop. Yamaha Warren was my dad and Jimmy Accazelli's dad, and my dad says, do you want to work in the Yamaha shop? And I said, no. I says, I'm done with motorcycles. I'm going to come into the jewelry business. I went to gemology school. My dad sold our half off on the Yamaha shop, and the rest is history.
Let me say this one thing. You were done with motorcycles until today, and then we had to drag you back into that world, right?
What Larry said when he was at the Indy, that was in 2009 when the MotoGP was in town.
Right.
The rookies of '79, Cycle News always did an article on the up and coming racers that were going for the Rookie of the Year. And because I won my region, the other 5, Scotty Parker, Ronnie Jones, Charlie Roberts, John Winslowitz, were all featured in Cycle News. So 30 years later, 2009, we all got together. And fortunately, we all stayed friends, even though I quit racing. It wasn't like I left the motorcycle scene altogether. And we started a charity that night to help injured racers, which that article in American Flat Track was all about, the charity that we founded. So it was then that we all got back together again. And from that point was when I decided, you know what, let me give back to the sport. I got a hold of AMA and AFT, and we became the official jeweler to the American Flat Track, and we provide custom championship rings to all 3 classes. And so that's my way of giving back. And then also, obviously, most of the racers are in love or falling in love in and out every weekend, and I'm here to help them with their jewelry needs when that happens.
Well,
A lot safer.
Just to let our viewers know, when he's talking about a draft, and I road raced before, a draft is when you can get up literally right behind the bike in front of you, and he will pull you along, and you will be using less horsepower, less gas as he's pulling you along. And then they call it the slingshot. You're tucked down, your chin's on the tank.
Yep.
You could have your arm behind you and you're holding on to the gas. And then when it's time to go, you punch it and then you slingshot literally out around past the guy and then cut in front of him. And hopefully you can get enough in front of him that he doesn't become drag on you. So that's one thing. Now, when you look back, and this is the final question, when you look back, Thom, at the whole thing and where you're at now, if you could go back, do you think you would change the early exit? Do you think you would say, hey, maybe I should stay with it? Or was it the right thing to do at the right time?
Larry, I've thought about that question for the last 40 years. Yeah, so, I have no regrets in the sense because I have a beautiful wife, 3 children, and that whole sequence obviously happened right after racing. And would that have changed? Would I have, befallen to a fatal accident on the racetrack? It's hard to tell and second guess, all of those things. But yes, I think that, knowing what I know now, I would have liked to stayed at it a little bit longer. Scotty went on to be 9-time Grand National champion and 94 national wins. No one has broke his record to this day, and he still has lap times that are track records that are still in place. So, and having that level of talent that he did and had that early success like he had, I can only sit and dream and what if, and my dream was always not to sell jewelry, but to retire as a Grand National champion with a couple $1 million in the bank and do whatever I want to do. But that didn't happen either. So here we are, and no regrets. It was been a good career.
Well, with the holidays coming up, I just want to remind everybody that Thom Duma Fine Jewelry is located in downtown Warren. You want to give your hours and your address because Christmas is coming. Everybody is getting engaged. For sure.
Right on. You can, just check us out at tdfj.com, ThomDumaFineJewelry.com. Our address is 115 West Market Street in Warren. We're right across the street from the courthouse. And our hours are 10 to 5, Monday through Saturday.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to thank you for the courtesy of coming on. We're going to have you stay on for the next half hour because Greg's going to have some questions for you in a little bit. And I know we have another guest we want to talk to as well.
Hey, Larry, real quick. I didn't realize motorcycles drafted like cars did. Yeah, I always knew the cars did, but they can do that too, huh?
In the world, the way you see them when they come off that bank on Daytona, the worst thing you can have, and I've been on that bank, and the worst thing is if you're leading that race and there's a guy right on your butt, when you come off that bank, sure as hell, you're going to lose the race, the 200. So yeah, that's a big deal, man.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, on the miles.
A good road racer.
The shorter tracks, you won't get that big of a draft.
No.
On the miles you do, and that is all strategic. Larry is not no lie there. You have to know how much where you're going to be on that last corner if everything is tight.
Mm-hmm.
Did a side draft work too? Did a side draft work on the motorcycles too?
Side draft, you'll get some. When you pull out, sometimes because now you're into the dirty air, you'll get a little turbulence, but you're not going to get when you say side draft to bring you closer together or suck you close. No.
Okay.
All you got to do is get behind a truck with your car, get pretty close, and then just go out around them, and you'll see that there'll be clean air. And then at some point, though, right when you get near the front of his truck, the air is going to be spilling off of those fenders and hood, and you'll start to feel it push your front end. That's what the draft's about. Get out, get around, and get back in.
Yeah, I've done that before. Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I didn't realize, and again, there's things we don't know about people. Like I said at the beginning of the show, didn't realize Thom Duma. I was like, how did you get into jewelry when you were a racer? I couldn't figure that out, but I know now.
Yeah,
and that's an amazing story, and I do want to get back to you if you can hang around just for a little bit. Yeah. But another thing is Diz Dean sitting here with me was also a racer, and I didn't know that until today. And you raced cars, correct? And what did you race?
Well, we I did some drag racing, but I was mostly a stock car guy, and I got tricked into driving in '87 on a little asphalt track in Newcastle, and did real well. And we moved up every year, and I ran both dirt and asphalt. And every year you move up, it gets tougher. And at the end, we were at Sharon Speedway, and we were in the Thunder Car division, and it was you only had so much money to spend, and I was gonna be a middle of the pack car forever, and that was it. And then I had heart problems, and I had to quit it all. So I loved it.
Yeah.
Did he ever race at the Camp Fairgrounds?
Did you
Staff, Forney, all of?
Did you ever race
Remember
at Camp Fairgrounds?
No, I never did. Never got that chance. I didn't start till '87, and they closed in '73, I think.
Yeah, I used to go there all the time on a Saturday night, watch them.
I never got to race on Expo up in Warren either.
Oh, there was one in Warren? I didn't know that's that.
Trumbull County Fairgrounds.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
fair.
Mhm.
But I ran on most of all the dirt and asphalt tracks from here to Sandusky.
Mhm.
It
Did you ever
was
hit Mercer?
fun time.
Did you ever hit the Mercer track?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Mercer I didn't run.
Yeah. Rick, take it away. See what, I know you have some questions for Diz here.
Oh yeah, Diz is an old car guy. We ran into Diz a number of years ago at Street Scene, and he was putting on the Thunder in the Park, which was a big success. But that's no longer right now, right, Diz? I think the FOP tried to keep it up a couple of years after you dropped out of it, and it just I didn't realize how much work was involved.
Exactly.
There's a lot of work involved. So there's not only do you have cars, you got a very nice No Nova, the Pontiac. What's that? The Pontiac.
The No Nova.
The No Nova.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, Paul.
Uh-huh.
You've got two Pontiacs, and
Mhm.
I want to
Got
mention
the Camaro.
if you're enjoying listening to the podcast, we also are going to broadcast this because we're showing us some pictures here. So we'll describe the pictures in the Armstrong Street Scene Power Hour podcast, but you can also watch it next week and later on Armstrong Neighborhood Channel YouTube page. So we'll have the pictures on there. We'll have the video. And so listen to the podcast, download it, and watch the YouTube broadcast the following week. So I wanted to share, this is what year is this?
64.
64. This is the first time I've ever seen this car. He's
Yeah, me too.
about it. So
Does that
still have it?
tri-power? Does that have tri-power in it?
yeah,
389 tri-power force.
Horsepower. Yeah,
Right.
64.
That's the good one.
yeah,
You still have that, Diz?
yeah.
Okay. I'm used to seeing the Camaro and the Pontiac.
I don't take it out too often because the bushings are bad. It's waiting to be restored.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much fun to drive.
There's I just wanted to show you. I know you've seen these at the car shows. Before we get into the real meat of the interview here, he's got obviously his it's a 74 GTO, correct?
Right.
Yep. And
You've probably seen them around town. It says No Nova on the license plate.
No Nova. You can see it right here where, if you're looking at this picture here, it's
Yeah.
No Nova. Yeah, because the
Yeah.
counterpart to the Pontiac was the Nova.
Well, they got
Mhm.
the name.
It looks just like a
the
Nova.
name Nova, Nova, and they came out with the Nova, the Omega, the Ventura, and the Apollo.
Okay. And the GTO.
Well,
Correct.
the GTO was an option on the Ventura.
Okay. Okay. 'Cause, and I'll show you a quick picture of Diz's Camaro. And the interesting thing we know about Diz's Camaro, and I always say the longevity of I've got my first car still, but what about the Camaro that's really interesting about it?
Well, it's the first car I ever owned.
And you've had it for how long?
I bought it in 1973, but I sold it in 74 when my GTO came in. And I knew where it was the whole time. I always tried buying it back and he wouldn't sell it to me. And then he passed away before Christmas in 2010. And his wife called me and I went and bought the car back and restored it. So I still have my first and second cars.
Yes. Yeah, who could say that anymore, really?
Did we featured you with that one day at on Street Scene, right? When we were up Master Picho, maybe? Was it the Master Picho winery?
I can't remember why that
Mhm.
was.
You've done them both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, go ahead, Rick.
This is also in the motorcycles. He has what, a couple motorcycles, right?
Just one.
Just one motorcycle.
One
Okay.
Not
One
stupidest thing I
chop.
ever bought in my life.
Why? Because you enjoy it so much?
Not
What
only
is it?
tell him. He wants to know what it is.
It's a 1973 Sportster chopper.
Mhm.
It's just the way it was
Drum
built,
brakes.
just the way it was built in 73, and it's fun to ride, but it's a handful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty hard to get parts now.
Yeah.
Not only are you into cars and bikes now, you have a heck of a model collection, car model collection. Is that right, Diz?
Just,
And how'd you start collecting model cars?
back when I was about 8 years old.
Uh-huh.
And
You build them, right? You're not only, you don't just buy and buy it. Oh, you got that
Yeah.
many? What's
Now,
that?
if you're listening to this podcast, I'm showing a picture of pretty much your storage area. Am I correct?
that's one aisle.
Wow.
One aisle.
That's one of them.
It's packed. It's shelves. It's metal shelves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the gray metal shelves, completely packed on top, bottom, and everything else.
We're
So-
gonna have to get Street Scene there with the camera and everything one time. You know that?
That's like unheard of, Diz.
Yeah, there's about
Oh.
1,000 unbuilt ones. I
Wow.
collect them and build them.
Do they raise in value with age?
Yeah, and then they'll come out and they'll reissue one, and my value of my old one goes to pot, you know.
No.
But it's just, it's like everything else, just like Hot Wheels or something. You have to know what you have to know what it's worth, and I just love collecting them, and I've been building a lot of the old ones lately because I'm figuring who am I saving them for?
Yeah.
Does that take away the value building them?
Pardon?
Does that take away the value of them when you build them?
It's funny. Sometimes the cars being built can be worth more than if they aren't. Sometimes the empty boxes can be worth more than if it had the car in it. I mean, it's a crazy world. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Xbox and Hot Wheels and that, you have to know what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, if you're restoring a motorcycle, you're taking pieces and parts of restoring a motorcycle, a big one, a real one, or a car. The detail that you put into these models is, that's time consuming. I can't imagine. Why don't you explain a little bit of what goes into these models?
Well, some of them I go full bore on. This car here was, nobody ever made that kit. And
It's 73, was a 73 formula? Is this what?
It's
the
a
Pontiac?
70.
Okay.
It was a Jerry Titus road race car.
Okay.
And I built it out of a couple other kits, but it's all wired and plumbed, and
Gee.
you got to do a lot of research on them. And I make as many parts as I can, and the full roll cages.
Yeah, because we're looking at the
Mhm.
bottom of what's this car.
That's the Sunoco car.
Now, if you're listening to this, he's got all the headers, side pipes, the frame, everything's detailed with paint. And again, how many hours could you possibly spend on one of these models?
I get down in the basement, and that one there, that was
This was explain what we're looking at here.
that's a McLaren
Oh,
road race car, and it's a very nice kit. It comes with most of the wiring and plumbing, and you have to make the seat belts, but I added brake lines and some other lines to it and everything. And That was probably the toughest one I've ever built.
And
I did 2 of them even.
Do any of them run? Do you make them run? Do you have little running engines in them or anything?
I don't go that far.
yeah,
Uh-huh. I've seen people like that. And do you make them for people?
No, I do it for myself.
Mhm.
This is if you know who Glenn Gould is, he was a famous race driver around here, and I just did 2 of his cars, and they come out beautiful. And I have a guy in Wisconsin, that's Lou Blaney.
yep, Lou Blaney. I'm just gonna keep on talking,
That's a
Diz.
guy-
I'm gonna just flip through some pictures you
guy in
sent.
Wisconsin makes decals for me.
Yeah,
I build a model and put the decals on.
and some of this, what we're looking at here, he's got a Bronco. It looks like he's got snow all over. It's a plow truck. I mean, how long?
Uh-huh.
I'll build any. Some guys only build cars, some
Wow.
guys only build trucks, but I'll build anything, a ship, an airplane.
That's a hillbilly's car.
Lindbergh crossing the Atlantic.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you're in the. I'm sorry to take up with it. This is fascinating because you don't only do, like you said, you build anything. I mean,
You gotta have a lot of patience to do that. It's just, I don't have that. I used to do models when I was younger, when I was in my, young teens and stuff like that. You just gotta have a lot of patience,
Rick, I go down to my basement like 8 o'clock at night. I turn on my little light and my TV, and I just lose track of time.
Yeah, you're into it. That's good.
I mean,
That's your passion. That's your
that's
passion.
why I try to get kids interested in this. You learn so much from building a model, whether it's an airplane or a ship or a car or a truck. You just learn so much from building a model, and
Mhm.
it's tough.
Are you in a club or anything?
Yeah, I'm in
Model club?
Shenango Valley area scale modelers.
okay,
Okay.
that's pretty. There's a lot of people that do models, and
There's a lot of people out there that you don't realize that do models.
again, the whole purpose of this show is there's a lot of things you don't know about people that
Mhm.
do on the side, and they do, hobbies in that. And I have to show you this one because he says he builds everything, right, Diz? This is everything because what we're looking at, the diorama of the White House. And there's people standing, in the courtyard, and there's the detail.
I found this at a swap meet a couple of years ago. I never saw it before. I had to research it because it didn't have a box. It was all in pieces. And the base of it was all cardboard. The
Oh my
little side
God.
buildings were cardboard, the steps and everything. And it was pretty worn out. Well, here I researched it. I found out the kit's from 1953.
Wow.
Oh, yikes.
So
That's as old as me.
I like doing HO scale dioramas too.
Yeah.
Where I had the cars and people with trees. So I built the whole base out of plastic. The little side buildings are all plastic. The steps are on the back. I made them out of evergreen and added the trees and the people and the cars, and it come out really nice. I'm happy with it.
What I have to say is, if you're listening to the podcast, I'm going through some pictures, and it's like picture porn. I'm not trying to say this is like model porn because these are just so intricate. And I'm just gonna flip through some other pictures. You got
You're an artist. You're an artist, Diz. You know that. You're an artist.
All right, everybody calls me the model master on my bike.
Yeah, well, sure. Takes a
I
big.
can show you some pictures of cars guys built that you would not believe. You'd think you could get in and drive away.
It's
Uh-huh.
unbelievable. And
I did a Blaney display here. I've got 9 Blaney cars, and it come out real nice. And then Eddie Miller made me that decal on the back with all the pictures.
But there's just so much to Diz sent me a ton of pictures, and all detail work, and it takes patience and time, and
that's the finish of the first Daytona 500 in 1959, where Eddie actually won and Johnny Beauchamp finished second, and the 48 car was actually a lap down, but they didn't know till 3 days later, till they got the picture developed, who won the race. They actually, that day, they gave the race to Johnny Beauchamp in the T-Bird.
Cameras weren't that quick then, they didn't have these, high-speed cameras, and that's
But I had
funny.
to search for a few years for the right cars and bodies and decals and everything.
Hey, Diz, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you have a separate room, more of a wing in your house for all of these, or
A basement.
a basement? You gotta have a huge basement. Look at all this. It's incredible.
I know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
The hard part is I don't have much room to display them, and most of it stays in boxes. I used to take this out as a display a couple times a year. So being in the boxes, it was easier to transport, but it takes like 5 hours to set it up. So I don't do it anymore. Last time I had it set up in Canfield swap meet.
No, because there's just.
Drive-in.
But say that
See
one more
that
time,
Mel's
Larry.
Drive-In? I was saying that's Mel's Drive-In from American Graffiti.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
I
about
put LED lights in it and little people inside. And
just really cool. And you've taken your you've taken these to shows and stuff, correct?
Yeah.
And
I got a lot of trophies with them.
yeah, that's.
Could you set something up for the next street scene car show? Would that work? Something
You know
small.
what?
You don't have to go big.
I'm getting too old to do this, Rick. That's the problem. I love doing it, and I love talking to the people. And but like I say, it takes me 5.5 hours to set it up and then take it back down again.
You know what we need? He needs a truck, an enclosed trailer, and set it all up.
Yeah.
Then just pull the trailer out, and then maybe
We should get Mark Cole to do that.
Yeah.
We got that hot rod truck. That
He's
panel.
an apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
There's a picture on here somewhere of the whole display. The last time I had it set up. And,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find it here.
It is impressive, but it's a lot of work, man.
Hey, Diz, are a lot of young kids getting involved with this right now?
What's that?
Do you have a lot of young kids getting involved with this right now?
We have a couple young kids in the club, and like I say, I set the display up really trying to get them interested in everything. I tried to start a free model class at the George Model Generational Center. And I was going to bring them in one night a week and teach them how to build models, whatever they wanted to build, and it was all going to be paid for through the hobby shops and everything. One kid signed up.
Yeah,
That was it.
It's kind of again, like everything else, it seems like that it's a dying art. We've got the car shows that are actually dwindling now because of the, people are not interested anymore, and we got to get these kids involved in this stuff. And I'm kind of, there's his motorcycle on it. If you're listening to this, where I have a picture of his motorcycle there. So
Hey, Diz,
Tom, I thought he'd be interested in seeing that one. So yeah.
I wouldn't get on that and ride that for all the love of money.
Oh, come on, give it a shot.
No way.
The hard part,
It's fun once you get going.
Yeah, as long as you're
what's
staying
hanging
straight,
on the
that's
right-hand
all.
side.
Yeah, if you don't have to turn, you're fine.
Yeah.
You just had that out the Rust Belt Revival. Did I see it there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
It's gonna sit there. You have to drag race. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry.
Did you ever kickstart it?
No.
Well, I just sold mine here last year. I had a 73 or 74 XLCH, did not have the electric start.
I had
And
a
I
72.
That's when you have the sports car, the big Harley guys likes to tell you they're girls' bikes. Well, maybe the modern ones are, but this old one here, and I just smiled at him and I said, well, okay, you start it. If you think it's a girl's bike, you start it. You better know how to start it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bought it if it didn't have an electric starter. I wouldn't have bought it, but it didn't have a Kickstarter on it when I bought it. It was just a pipe sticking out, and I thought I want to put it on there to make it look right, but I've never tried to kick it.
You could fake it though, as you're kicking down and you're holding the clutch, then hit that electric starter,
See how easy it is? No.
I remember I had a 72 XLCH, and I remember I would kickstart that thing. And sometimes you get a full leg up there ready to kick it. It would just give. And I don't know what that's called. It was just no compression at all. You go, what?
Called a
Oh
nut
my
buster, Rick.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Believe me.
Orthopedic surgeon on that.
Oh my God.
Oh, there's a certain way to start them. Let me tell you.
Mhm.
I mean, mechanically, they got to be right, but there's a certain way of ignition off, gas, kick it through, ignition on, crap like that. Oh yeah, you want to learn how to do it right, and you don't
Yeah.
want to wear tennis shoes.
No. I always wore army boots or some real heavy boots. So
Yeah, I kind of feel out of place. I'm not I don't ride motorcycles. So, now
Hey,
you can get on my case for not having something here.
hey, Diz, is there any kind of manual or pamphlet or booklet or anything saying what models are worth? Say, okay.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They
put
do?
it up on-
Mm-hmm.
They're, the prices are sometimes iffy, but it's,
Does it fluctuate? Does it fluctuate with a lot, or do you just see that?
The older ones, the older they are, the better they are, and if they're in a box, if they're sealed, if they're still in plastic. I go to I buy and sell collections, and I pick up a lot of old stuff that way. I had a gold mine from Sharon one time. I
Yeah.
made a lot of money on it. And I got a lot of old original Pontiac kits out of it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
we have a swap meet coming up this month over in Sharon on the 20th, and you can find a lot of the old stuff there, and they're decent prices, but they're not what the books say they're worth,
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a model that you actually went and got and it was like, I can't believe I found this? Is there one that stands out in your mind that
There's a few. The Sonny and Cher cars, and some of the old Johan. I just bought at the last swap meet, I bought a Johan. I picked up a Marlin,
Oh, okay.
and the AMC, the red, white, and blue car,
The Rebel.
the big one,
The-
the Rebel.
Oh,
Was it
is
the
the Rebel? Or
Yeah.
okay.
The Rebel, yeah.
I just picked them two up at a lot, and I paid $170 for that
Wow.
Rebel.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
Some
Was
of
it se-
them
was
are
it
very
sealed?
rare. Huh?
Hey,
Was it
Diz.
sealed?
Oh.
Was it sealed in the box or what? Was
Yeah.
it made? It was
Yeah.
sealed. Wow.
what's up, Larry?
I'm looking at, well, two things. I've I've been saving it for quite a while. I've got the original model of the Easy Riders bike with Peter Fonda. So I'm going to get some tips off you at some point when I get ready to build that. But if you come across any of these shows that have a model called Then Came Bronson.
Yes.
Yeah,
If you can get
somebody knows it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to find one, but they want
I-
such a crap ton of money for them.
I'd like
But
to find one myself. I have the Fonzie bike.
okay. Well, I knew Michael Parks, the guy that was the actor for
Right.
Jim Bronson, and he came on the show many times. Then I met the whole bike club. In fact, I flew out and took my Ironhead Sportster out to Reno for a big show a couple years ago, and with the Then Came Bronson guys. So I'm looking for one of those models. Greg will give you my number, and if you happen to come across one, buy it, and I'll pay you.
I know.
Just
Wait,
Good luck.
hold on. Wait a minute. If you buy it, I'll sell it to him at a profit. Yeah.
Wait, hey, Larry,
That's the
What
way
do
it
you
works.
think you're gonna pay for it?
what do you want to spend for
I don't
it?
know.
That's
Whatever
it.
Larry's
He'll
going to
buy
double
it.
my price.
Yeah.
Well, I last time I think I think that you might be able to find one in the box, $300, $350.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're okay
Well,
with that?
Let's get some advice from Tom and see, if you resell stuff, that you're in the jewelry business. I'm sure you get estate sales.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
still have to, profit's not a dirty word, right?
No, heck no. It's a good word.
Yes, that is a good word. And so, if we can, let's see if we can con Larry a little bit out of something, right, Larry?
Yeah, you've been conning me out of an hour every 2 weeks. For the
Yeah.
last-
I can tell you right now, Larry,
Okay, then I get the notice, and then now late in the week, oh, you're not needed anymore. Oh,
Yeah, we've conned Larry into doing the street scene power hour. So, who's the real winner here, Larry?
well,
It
I'd
ain't
like to
you,
say
because we just stoked your time up.
Uh,
I know.
Well, I want to go through a couple, just a quick, we only have a couple minutes left. Again, last few pictures I've got, there's some boats. I mean, you do that too, a diorama of.
Merrimack and the Monitor.
I like the history models too.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's, in the PT
That
109.
one I just did.
John
that came-
Kennedy's.
I had to order that boat from England because they made
From
it here.
England? Oh, wow.
They weren't being sold over here yet, but it actually had all the interior detail, the plates lift off, and then it came with the cannon on the front, which I knew nothing about until I started researching it. And somebody said, "Do you remember from the movie when they tied the cannon on the front?" And I'm thinking,
No, they do.
Now that you say that,
Yeah.
and this model actually
Mhm.
came with the cannon on it. too.
Amazing. And,
Did it have a model of John Kennedy on it?
There's people on it that
Okay.
we can call one
yeah.
JFK.
Yep, and
Mhm.
there's just even again, I encourage you to log onto the YouTube Armstrong Neighborhood channel. Look up Street Scene Power Hour, because pictures up here, and the one I'm looking at is lit. I mean, it's backlit,
Yeah,
like
but
a
I
cruise
did the
ship.
Titanic. I always
Yeah,
wanted
is
to
that
do
the
a
Titanic? Yeah, wait a minute,
I always wanted to do the
There it is,
Titanic.
okay.
and I
Yeah.
did-
So you got that all lit up too then, huh?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all lit up on the
Isn't that cool?
back. So, and there's just things you don't know. I'm going to throw Rick a curveball. What's something that people in the audience don't know about you?
I like ships too. I like model ships very much. I was an old Navy
What?
guy.
There's something else that I know about Rick that nobody does. I don't know about that.
Thunderbird.
Too bad you got that nice ship blocked off with that bear.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
have a Browns
Hey,
fan
there.
here.
Yeah, Steelers. Hey, yeah, I'm bragging the street, guys.
Hey, I got a question for Rick. Can the bear kick field goals?
Oh, I hope so. We need one now.
That was a rough game for that guy.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it sure was a rough game, but
Yeah,
who knows? Whoever shows up will win. Yeah, but I do like ships. I got a bunch of ships around my house, and I got model cars, but I don't build them like you did. That's a talent and patience, and I got a lot of little things around here, and I have a nice collection, believe it or not, of. This is just, I detail cars on the side, okay? And I have a nice collection of wax cans and bottles and stuff
there's-
like that.
And there's the detail you did not know about Rick right there.
Mhm.
And
And I'll tell you what, I went to Hershey this past couple weeks ago, and usually at Hershey there's vendors everywhere, and I just pick up a can or two, just messing around. I've been messing around with it forever, and all of a sudden there was this one lady there off to the side. I bought a couple cans and bottles off her, and she goes, "Oh, you got to see the rest of my stuff over there to the left." So I go over there. She had bottles, wax cans, and car wax and polishes and stuff like that from 50, 60 years ago. Okay. Her uncle used to collect them, and her uncle died and left her all this collection. And I was like in hog heaven there, man. I go, oh my God. I brought one bottle home. I spent a couple $100 on these. I was like, oh my God. I brought one bottle home, looked it up. It was an old McGuire's bottle from 1940. It was worth $100. I think I paid $20 for it.
Jeez.
Yeah, and this other can I bought was worth $50, and I can't even find the other stuff. I don't know where to find the other stuff at. So
Jeez.
I feel
Good.
a little let out, Greg. I feel a little, there's things people want to know about me.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Because I'm going to ask Thom the same question. If there's another thing that the people we already know, we already found out that he flat track raced, which I'm blown away, because when I worked at the TV station at KBN, we tagged a lot of his commercials for quite a while. So I was the one that did that for and he didn't even see, that's a detail you didn't know about me, Tom, is I used to tag some of your commercial spots. Larry, there's got to be something that people don't know about you after being 21 years on the Two Wheel Power Hour and 6 months on Street Scene Power Hour. But
Oh yeah. After working at KBN and iHeart for 21 years, you should see my collection of empty Fireball bottles.
Oh, gee.
Oh, everybody. All right. This is a disclaimer. That was just a joke, iHeart. Don't
Really?
empty collection of Fireball bottles.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That'll top that wax candle stuff.
Yeah. The door behind you has got them all stored. And do you have a truck to haul them to? Like we're going to get Diz for his models? Yeah.
Hey, I'll have you know that you can go to any gas station and get a 12-pack.
Oh.
Fireball.
So that was another detail we didn't know. You guys
You ride 700, 800, 900 or 1,000 miles on a motorcycle with all your gear in 90-degree weather. After you get a shower and get to your room, it's good to have a little bottle of Fireball.
Yeah, a little one or a little bottle. Yeah, Tom
or the captain. I take him along too with me.
Yeah,
a little bit of rum,
huh? I hate to say it's my favorite too, the captain. So Tom, there's got to be one detail that you can add to your legacy here of flat track racing that people don't know about you.
I probably, let's see, if we're going to stick with the motorcycle theme, is that I was blessed to have mechanics beside me, even my amateur career, that again, because my dad was working, so there was always somebody that he would get to drive me around the country and then work on the motorcycle. So I'm not a very good mechanic when it comes to the motorcycle. I can ride them, but don't ask me to help you fix them.
Very good. Very good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's good. So we do know details. So, you've been listening to the Armstrong Street Scene Power Hour with host Rick Herrera. I'm Greg Roten, Larry Ward. We are welcome to have Thom Duma with us. It's Flat Track Racer and Thom Duma Fine Jewelry. And we're also welcome to have Diz Dean, who has raced. He's been organized car shows, and he is a model collector and builder. And we've been blessed to have both of you.
Hey, Diz, how do you get?
Story, Greg. I'll make it short. When I first started racing in '87 over at Hickory, I got in a bad crash one night and I took out the flag stand, knocked both the guys out of the flag stand. And burnt my car in half and everything. And we were leading points.
Yeah.
But whenever I get introduced to anybody and say, "Oh yeah, he used to race stock cars," they'd say, "Oh yeah, you're the guy that took out the flag stand at Hickory." They didn't remember that I won 7 features that year.
Yeah.
Only did I knock the flag stand out.
That's good. That's good.
True.
Hey, Diz, if someone wanted to get involved with the models, is there a website you can go to, or is that the sharing site, or what?
They're all over the place, all over Facebook, and our club is a good place to start. A good bunch of guys, really. Shenango Valley area steel modelers.
Is that what it's called? Shenango Valley area steel modelers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of Sharon.
And again,
they have monthly meetings and show off your stuff and give tips. It really a good bunch of guys.
And again, Tom, where can we find Thom Duma Fine Jewelers?
Easiest place is on the web at just tdfj.com.
Easy.
Shows us all the brands and all that and the directions and all the contact at TDFJ. If you wanted to inquire about anything, comes directly to my inbox. So I take care of all those and respond to that. And that's the easiest way to find us.
Good.
Hey, Tom, if you can, I'll give you my address. You can send me all the diamonds you have extra sitting around, okay?
And then you could send me what's not diamonds. I'll take those.
Yeah, there's a big deal. There's a big deal now making diamonds and rubies and all that stuff. Is that are they worth the same or what, Tom?
No, they are not worth the same. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
they finally in diamonds. They finally figured out the exact amount of pressure and heat that they can replicate what the Earth, Mother Nature does. They've been long forever producing diamonds for the automobile industry, as well as the computer industry, but they were
Mhm.
never gem quality. And then they finally figured it out, like I said, after years and years of making these. And so they're this basically they start with a diamond. That's the only difference, right? So they build off of that molecular structure. So it is diamond, but it because it's manufactured, it does not have the same value. It's about $800 a carat compared to $8,000 a carat. Mind. So
You can tell obviously you can tell the difference then, right?
financially, but not
Yeah.
visually.
Not visually?
Not
Okay.
visually. I have to have a special machine that can tell me whether it's earth mined or lab grown.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Oh.
That's kind of scary if you think
Yeah.
about it. You got to have an eye, know what to do with that. That's
Well, it's pretty controlled by the government, and then all lab growns have got to have identification lasered on the diamond itself, so you can see that. But I'm sure there's some unscrupulous people out there that are
Oh,
trying to
sure.
figure out all those things, just like taking off serial numbers on a car, right?
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta,
Wow.
if you don't know what you're doing, you gotta know your jeweler.
Hmm.
like I said, you learn a little bit of everything on Street Scene Power Hour. So, we're going to wrap it up here. For Larry Ward, Rick Guerrera, I'm Greg Roten. We're welcoming guests Diz Dean and Thom Duma.
We'll see you down
the road.